And so 3 days before my mom passed, she looks at me and Chris, my mom never cussed. And she said, Bryce, cut the fucking bullshit. Take the leap. And I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? She's like, you have this song inside. If you don't go sing it at 75, you're going to regret it. You're going to sit on the park bench at 75 and some whippersnapper is going to be telling you about, his potential. And you're going to wonder what if.
Wow.
She is like, I know you. You coached people in our garage as a kid. You've had this fascination with trying to take your vision and make it a reality. You got to do the thing.
Welcome back to Built for Legacy. I'm your host, Chris Nichols. It's great to get back with an episode. This is our first episode of 2026, and we have a spectacular guest, my good friend, Bryce Smith. Bryce was a professional basketball player and CrossFit Games athlete. He now runs his business, AllSmith, where he trains people in fitness and mindset. He has an apparel line, as you see with this hat I'm wearing, and he's the host of his podcast, AllSmith. He has a variety of guests on where they talk about peak performance, personal growth, and living boldly. My conversation with Bryce in this episode is unique because we spend a lot of time on his personal story. Bryce has been through a lot of different transitions that we cover. He's been through some adversity personally that most people his age have never experienced. He's lost both of his parents. So we talk about how that has impacted him, how that's driven him in his various pursuits from sports to entrepreneurship, some of the identity and mindset shifts he's had to make through these different chapters in his career. Then we spend some time later in the episode talking about AllSmith, his business, tactics that he's learned, his marketing strategies, his philosophy, what he sees going forward, and some quick hitter questions where he provides some value for other entrepreneurs or self-starters out there. Bryce is a really insightful guy, so I hope you all can appreciate the reflective and deeper tone of the conversation we had in this episode so that you can feel like you were right there in the room with us. Please subscribe to Built for Legacy on Apple, YouTube, and Spotify, and follow the Instagram page at Nichols and Dimes and at Built for Legacy Podcast. Thank you all for listening, and now please enjoy this episode with my man, Bryce Smith. Bryce, thanks so much, man, for coming on the show.
Today's going to be fun. We've talked about this numerous times. We've had fireside chats. We've had sauna and ice. And more importantly, just like a bond, right? Like we've had this unique connection that I'm really excited to unpack and share with the San Diego audience and hopefully people beyond. This is very cool.
Absolutely, man. It's cool to get to know you first as a friend and then do a podcast like with this much time later.
Yeah, I'm really excited today because we've curated it really well, right? Like you think about like beach volleyball, for example, you have a bump, you have a set, and then you have a spike. Today to me is like a spike, right? But like it took time to get here. It took time to curate and foster the relationship. It took time to better understand each other. Hey, what are you going through? What are you going through? Okay, cool. Let's create a common ground. Okay, let's explore some other stuff now. And something associated with that is just really fun. And I think podcasting is such a great space to share truth, man. And I think in my observation, especially not just in witnessing you with my own eyes and, curating different experiences and being with you in those experiences, but also in my reflection personally and with other people associated with our community, they always say, that guy Chris gets it. And so it's an honor to be a part of the Built for Legacy podcast and, navigating transitions because everybody is going to go through transitions in some way, shape, or form. And so it's an honor to be here, man. I appreciate you holding the space for me. And, I continue to hold space in return. I'm excited for what's to come.
Thank you, man. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I appreciate you calling out the theme of this podcast around transitions because this was I niched down to this topic last year and you were with me through those conversations a lot as I was brainstorming what this new look of the podcast would be. And I just look back at my life and a lot of the people in my community and my network in the guests that I've had on. And I noticed a pattern in all those areas of people who have successfully transitioned to something new in entrepreneurship, building their own path from after they've been excellent at something else, typically in sports or in the military, and then they had to completely, go on a new path. My goal is to give people tactical value and advice from this podcast that they can apply to their lives, whether they're transitioning their careers, whether they're getting out of college sports and going to do something new. And in this case, it happens to be entrepreneurship, because this is just the type of community I like to be around. And that's what I'm personally interested in. And this is your path. You played basketball at a high level at San Diego State, and then you transferred to Cal State Northridge. You played pro ball in Sweden. And a little bit later, you were a pro CrossFit athlete competing at the highest level. And aside from those athletic accolades, and then of course, we'll talk about your business, AllSmith, in depth later, but I want to talk about some of the personal stuff that's driven you throughout all this. You've gone through something that a massive majority of people your age have not gone through or can never imagine. You've lost both of your parents. From what I know about you and what I've learned, it sounds like your dad was a big influence on a lot of the things you did. And I just want to start off with this particular transition from San Diego State and transferring to Cal State Northridge because of your dad and his health. Mm-hmm. And I want to understand what you were going through at that time up until you going over to Sweden to play ball. What was that journey like?
Yeah. It's so cool that you ask, because I don't know. I feel like I've not had many opportunities to share that story. I get a little teary-eyed in sharing it a little bit, because it's deep. It's vulnerable. It's a pivotal moment within the reasoning as to why I'm here now. And so it's interesting that you ask, because it's like my childhood was, I always relate it to the Sandlot. Like, my parents were so cool, but I mean, we had a dual household. Both my parents worked. We didn't have a lot of money. And, anytime I asked my parents for money or asked my parents for something, it was like, yeah, we can probably explore that, but like, here's what you need to do in return. It was always like a give and take. And we had to earn stuff, which is great. And to this day, I'm very thankful for that. I just remember Saturday yard work. I remember drinking from the fucking hose. Like, I remember like my brother and I playing.
I remember that too.
Bro, it was so good. And like, I'm sure that's why our immunity is so good now. And I remember my brother and I playing like one-on-one tackle football, and me getting to that age where like, hey, I'm going to start challenging him a little bit. But it's like, dude, my brother was 3.5 years older than me. He was going through puberty, and I was just this young whippersnapper that like sort of was testy sometimes. He was just so much smarter than me. And like, he still is. But like, dude would tackle me on like a sprinkler, and I'd run inside and I'd be like bawling my eyes. And I'd be like, Dad, can you help me? Like, Jeff, it's my brother's name, Jeff. I was like, Jeff just tackled me on a sprinkler. And my dad would look at me and go, did you say you wanted to, challenge him? Did you say you wanted to play? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, all right, then you need to like make sure that you like take into consideration the consequences. Go figure it out. And figure it out became like a staple in my headspace. So to bring it full circle, like, as my dad started navigating cancer, it was, I was not ready for that, man. Like, I literally looked at my dad as like a superhero. Like, I remember when he was 66 years old, he would bench 225 for 3 sets of 12.
Damn.
And it's like, for all you weightlifters out there or people that are, gym goers, that's pretty good, especially for a 66-year-old. And like, that was before his time. Like, he didn't have excess recovery stuff. And like, I'd be like, Dad, hey, what are you going to do for legs today? Be like, oh, I'm going to go walk the hill, or I'm going to like, do some hill sprints or play some football or basketball with you guys. Like, it's just like before his time. And so to answer your question, man, like, the thing that was dope about my dad is that like, he was the man in the arena. He didn't just like talk the talk. He walked the walk. Like, he trained. And like, I just remember, man, like, he would wake up at 6:45, and like, I'm more like my mom. Like, I'm not a morning person. I wake up slow. I'm more of a night owl. And if you think about like biology, like, some humans are like wake up and hunt and gather, and then other humans are like provide and protect late night. You've seen it. You come to my house late night, and it's like, bro, I can go late night. You grab me at 5 a.m. and I'm like, huh? What? So I'm a little slow in the morning, but like my dad was a morning dude. And he would wake up in the morning. He'd always like take a shower. He'd do all the detail-oriented stuff in the morning, make his bed. He left out vitamins for me and my brother. Then he'd go to work. And then when he got home from work, he would pick me and my brother up from school. When he got home, he had defrosted meat in the morning. He would switch from his work clothes to his training clothes, which was typically like a white V-neck and some shorter shorts, which at that time was like, Dad, you're freaking weird. Like 90s, 2000s was baggy ass shit. Like, you don't get it, Dad. I was like, you don't have swag. Now I look back and like, homeboy had swag.
Yeah.
And it was funny because like I didn't think of it that way at the time. And my dad would go to the garage like religiously. And he'd work out in the garage and I'd be like shooting hoops. I'd be like working on my dribbling skills, or I'd be like playing football with my brother. And then when my mom got home, I was like, hey, you guys got to go do homework now. I'm like, shit, I wanted to play. And so my mom realized right away that like I wasn't really interested in school, but I was a good student. So on like paper, I always got honors. I always did good things, but that was because of my mom. But my mom pushed us like, hey, go do your homework. Then you can come out and play. But I didn't want to do that. So my mom would be like, okay, you're going to shoot. Do you know the Pomodoro technique?
Remind me.
It's like 20 minutes of work, 5 minutes of rest, or 5 minutes of a break.
Yep.
20 minutes of work, 5 minutes of a break, and then 20 minutes of work, 15 minutes of a break.
Yeah.
So like my mom kind of executed that, and I didn't even know it at the time. She kind of hid vegetables in an omelet. And so I would like do schoolwork for 20 minutes. Then my mom would play catch with me, or she would let me help in the kitchen, or she would like go shoot hoops with me. And she'd be like, okay, your 5 minutes is up. You got to go work again. So I go work and I'd like, get after my homework, or I'd do my reading or do whatever the assignment was. She'd be like, okay, 20 minutes is up. Let's go play again, or let's go do the thing. My mom did a great job.
That's awesome. She implemented that.
She did.
Very cool.
And like, I have so much gratitude to my mom for like my brain, which at the time, like, I don't know, maybe in my super young ages, I put a lot of like gratitude into my brain. But then as I got older, I got more validation for basketball. So I started to care less about school, but like I was always like a 3.6 student or above. Like honestly, I don't remember getting a B until I was like a sophomore in high school.
Damn, Bryce.
I mean, it's not even really because of me. It's just because like my mom pushed us. And, my brother was a great student, and like at home, like, everybody talks about their inner child, right? And it's like, well, I wanted to get love at home. So I got love from dad for performance in athletics, and I got love from mom for academics. And it's like, I don't know. I'm very thankful for that relationship. And I think that's part of the reason why it was so hard when they passed. The thing that I will bring full circle, and I hope to pay this forward to other parents out there, is, Chris, belief is so special. And I hope that in our relationship and in our conversation that I've instilled some belief in you. Like, hey man, just keep going. You may not get the accolades in the podcast right away, but if you're consistent, you're going to outlast. You may not win, but you're going to outlast. And you and I both know this in the podcast space. Like, most people only make it to episode 20. Bro, you're coming up on episode 100.
Yep.
Fucking congratulations.
Thank you,
That's
man.
super cool. And, that's something like, when my father first got diagnosed, I was training for the 2018 CrossFit Games. And I received a phone call between 9 and 10 a.m. on a Tuesday from my sister. She just said, hey, Bryce, this is a lot. I know you're at work right now, but our father was just diagnosed with terminal cancer, glioblastoma, which is the worst of the worst. And they say he has 4 months to live. I just remember I was in the middle of a training session. I walked outside, I sat on the curb, and I just bawled my eyes out. And the optimist and the fighter in me was like, oh, we're going to beat this. My dad's got this. We're going to figure it out. And little did I know that it was going to be a huge journey. That week, he was scheduled for emergency surgery to take a softball-sized tumor out of his brain. And it was a lot, dude. And I just remember I would coach and train in San Diego until about 8:30 at night when I finished with my clients. And I mean, Chris, for a year, maybe 8 months, I'd smash 5-hour energy, or I'd take a cold brew and I'd drive up to LA and I'd park my car and I'd sit with him just in the hospital. And when he was awake, I'd interview him like this. Hey, Dad, what was Vietnam like? Hey, what was it like when you first started dating my mom? What was it like when you first had my sister and you were living in Hawaii and still trying to be in the military? And then when he was asleep, I was like, okay, like I took all that caffeine. Like I did the 2.5-hour drive, sometimes longer, depending on traffic. I was like, well, I got a kettlebell, I got a wall ball, I got a jump rope, I got my body. I was like, I'm going to go train in the hospital parking lot because I had an obligation, right? Like I made a commitment to go to the CrossFit Games in 2018 and be on the team. So I was one of 4. And, you know, it wasn't their fault that I had life circumstance. So it's like my energy and my body composition and my execution and my fitness level needed to be at a place where it was ready to contribute. And so, you know, in my brain, I was like, I made a commitment. I hold a standard of my words and my actions must align. I'm going to do burpees. I'm going to do EMOMs. I'm going to do wall ball shots. I'm going to do double unders. I'm going to handstand walk. I'm going to air squat. I'm going to do anything and everything within my power to execute to make sure that I'm ready for the 2018 CrossFit Games. And yeah, man, it was probably one of the hardest times in my life. But as you know, it's a mystery looking forward and it's science looking back. It had to be like that for me to learn and evolve. And yeah, man, I hope that answers your question a little bit. It's a long-winded answer.
Yeah, how would you do? So first of all, how old were you? Where were you when your father died?
He passed away in 2018, July 3rd, 2018. So I was 28. And yeah, so somewhere between 27 and 28.
Okay, and you were deep in your CrossFit career at that point.
Yeah, I mean, to my knowledge and in my opinion, I knew it was kind of my last year. And then when that happened, I was like, okay, this is the final year. Okay,
so I really want to understand. So first off, you made the transfer in college from San Diego State to Cal State Northridge to be closer to him, right? Just to be able to support.
He was going through a tough time. And so he had just retired, talking about transitions, right? Theme of your show. My dad had just retired. I think retirement's tough, right? Because you have this like expectation, this obligation, this fulfillment. You wake up in the morning with purpose. And then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah.
And like we all marry ourselves to the goddamn rat race. And then like, you know, if you want to predict behavior, you have to look at incentive. And, you know, since he didn't have incentive anymore, he's like, well, I'm going to support my kids. And it was like, you know, I was going through some tough stuff in like my athletic career. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to at the college level, and went from, you know, being a McDonald's All-American nominee and like crushing it at a school that was number 1 in the country for a little while, Taft High School, to then like, okay, we had all these scholarship offers, to being like, whoa, what's next? And so like you get this like tickle of like, oh my gosh, everybody wants you to nobody wants you very quickly. And like you think about like spectrum, right? Like what we observe now in the world with anxiety and depression, right? It's like so much excitement when you're getting all these letters every day in the mail and all these schools want to recruit you. And then I paused for a second. I just remember like, I'm so thankful to have had this insight as a senior in high school, because I got to observe my brother go to UCLA, and just like my brother was so smart. He worked so hard. But the world doesn't relate academics to athletics as far as monetization. So I saw my parents fight a little bit. in relation to the monetization for his college. And I thought to myself, like, man, how do I mitigate that? How do I provide like, a little bit less of that? And, some schools offered financial aid, like every Ivy League offered financial aid. My grades were good enough to sort of figure it out at that level. And then all of a sudden it's like all these schools like loved me and then wouldn't answer the phone or this, that, and the other. And finally San Diego State came knocking, and I was dating a girl at UCLA at the time. And I was like, you know what? Like, I want to stay in California. And this might be a little bit like above my like whatever, but I was like, I made it work at Taft. Nobody thought a little white boy would make it and become the leading scorer on a team that would become number 1 in the country. I was like, I'm going to bet on me. I'm going to bet on my work ethic. And like, I'm thankful I did that because it built the proof of concept 2 decades later to then pursue entrepreneurship, which I didn't know at the time. But it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I remember my first tattoo. Towards you, it says Carpe Diem, seize the day. So like, hey, every day is not promised. Like, make the most of it. The other way, it says work hard. And it's cool. Just like, I don't know, man. Like, the number one thing I've always trusted is my work ethic. So whether it was basketball, whether it was CrossFit, whether it was relationships, the outcome didn't always lead to the space that I wanted. But I had this inner confidence and this inner drive that like, I am who I say I am. My words and my actions align. And I'm willing to do the work.
How far apart did each of your parents pass?
My father passed away in 2018. And then my mother passed away in 2024.
Man.
So relatively recently.
Yeah. How would you describe who Bryce Smith was before your dad passed and then after?
Fucking awesome question, dude. That's why you're a podcaster. For the men watching this, I hold space for you. If you haven't had a relationship with your father, I do view that as a privilege, and I'm very thankful for that. Yeah. But I will say, if you've had a relationship with your father, whether it's good or bad, there's this unspoken bond that if you fuck up everything in your life, he's there. You don't know how. It's a mystery looking forward. It's always science looking back. But knowing that your father exists, you're like, if I screw up everything financially, get a girl pregnant, something happens, something goes against the grain for whatever reason, whatever way, shape, or form that is not part of the plan. Biologically, you know this dude has your back. When that cord is cut, you sit and you look at the ceiling for a really long time. And this is probably a huge part of this conversation today. If I cry, I'm significantly sorry and not sorry at the same time.
Don't be.
For a long time, I felt loved because of the existence of my father and the belief that he had in me. When I went from a boy to a man, which I can describe what that situation was, my mom was a part of that, thankfully. You then look at the world, or at least I did in my experience. People don't love me for who I am. They love me for what I can do for them. You feel like a cog in the wheel. You feel like transaction. And when you're not able to be that anchor, you're like, whoa, my dad was always that anchor. Why can't I be? And it's messy. It's beautiful. It's anxious. It's depressive. It's so many different emotions put into a blender that says, oh, you want to grow into a better version of yourself? Okay, cool. Drink this smoothie and I'm going to teach you how to befriend uncertainty. And I was just like, whoa. I don't know that I'm ready for this, but here we go. It's like the drop on Goliath. You're just like, I'm not ready for this. Okay, here we go. And like,
I love that. Befriend uncertainty.
It's something cool there that's just like, certainty is safe, right? It's when I feel the couch and I go to sit on it, I know it's not going to pull out from underneath me. And it's like time and time again, you know, at this point in my life, I was spiritual, not faithful. I was seeking to understand. I was questioning everything. I was an optimist with a pessimist level curiosity. And time and time again, it was just like getting punched in the face with adversity. And so it's just a part of the story. I didn't believe it to be everything. And in my brain, it was like, okay, like I'm going to allow myself to feel this, but then I'm going to be, to echo Ted Lasso, be more curious than judgmental and seek to understand what I'm supposed to learn from this experience. And I'm even to this day, man, I miss my father every day. And he was not perfect. He was screwed up in so many ways. But he believed in me. And I don't know anyone else other than modern day my wife who believes in me with that much level of oomph. And yeah, it was a really cool relationship that I had with my father. And I find every day so much of him just kind of living and existing in my life. And I smirk about it. I cry about it. I share about it. And it just kind of is like a salt and pepper in my day.
Well, thank you, man, for sharing that. I think it's an amazing answer. And I mean, I just think it's important to spend some time on this topic because it's shaped so much of who you are, this kind of stuff that you've gone through, and how it's applied to your sports accolades. And then, of course, you starting your business and your podcast. And I'm curious I just want to go through the timeline a little bit from your time playing pro basketball in Sweden, and then becoming a firefighter, and then of course getting into training and coaching, you know, in the gym, during your CrossFit days, and then now that's the core area of AllSmith, of your business today, where you train and coach clients. And could you tell me what got you interested in firefighting after pro ball in Sweden? I'm that's one thing that stands out to me in the many different transitions you've had. Why did you do that? But first, maybe tell me, how long did you play pro ball in Sweden, and what was that like? And then why did you get into firefighting?
Sure. So when I was playing college basketball, I transferred to State Northridge. My father was going through a huge transition, figuring out retirement, found himself in severe alcoholism. My mom was calling me every day. She didn't know how to navigate it. My brother at that time was in medical school. My sister had a very lucrative, successful job, and she was traveling all the time. And I felt that responsibility on me. For people listening, the song Fast Car landed on me a lot.
Luke Combs?
It was originally by someone else. I forgot her name, but then recreated by Luke Combs. And then they did a duet together. And there's a line that says, "My old man's got a problem." And like right around there, it was like, I took that on full heart. And my college basketball career wasn't really panning out the way I thought it would. We have a plan, God has a plan. And, I went from being the leading scorer on a team that, was getting all this attention. We would have lines outside of the door to come watch us at Taft High School. And my high school point guard got a full scholarship to North Carolina. One of our players got a full scholarship to Long Beach State. One of our other players got a full scholarship to UNLV. Like, we had a lot of attention. I mean, we had Roy Williams coming to our games. We had Magic Johnson coming to our games. Like, we had a lot of people coming to check us out and what was going on. So, like, then to, in my opinion, like, I wasn't the best player, I wasn't the guy that always, had the dunks or like did the thing that was like always like romanticized. But Chris, I worked my ass off.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you look at the scorecard at the end, it's like, it's this white guy that had like 20 something points and like took 3 charges and like got a bunch of deflections. And, this was before Steph Curry was Steph Curry. And it was like, I'd come off screens, and because of my ability to shoot, it's like I demanded a lot of attention, which then created space for everybody else. And that's something that really stood out to me, is that everything that's measured doesn't always count. And everything that counts isn't always measured. And so when you look at that and then look at my college career, like it just didn't work out the way I thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a ton.
Yep.
And then
I can relate to
sure.
that. Yeah.
And I'd love for you to share when you're open to it. And, ended up transferring. They brought in Kawhi, and I played with Kawhi in high school. Like I knew what he was capable of. Dude is so talented. Now he's a 2-time NBA champion. Like his hand is like bigger than my torso. I'm a big fan of his. Like, his role at San Diego State was just going to be a better fit than mine. And in my brain, I was like a poor man's Jimmer Fredette. Like I felt like they put me in the corner to shoot. And, I tried my best to fulfill that role, but I felt like I was capable of more. And so at that time, the NIL didn't exist. The transfer portal didn't exist. I transferred. I wanted to be closer to family. And bro, there was this moment where I'm sitting at the kitchen table. My father was diagnosed with cancer. Speaking of transitions, and my mom, like she worked as an accountant, as a CPA for years. And Chris, she walks over with this envelope. She opens the envelope. And my father, was navigating cancer treatment at that time. And I remember she opened a bill for $26,000. The look on her face was like she had seen a ghost. Like she just like didn't want to share anything. And I was like, whoa. This is where I go from a boy to a man. And so I created this just hashtag Smith Strong. And I started slinging shirts out of the, out of my car, out of the
Smith
gym.
Strong. Smith Strong.
Smith Strong. And I started slinging shirts out of just my car. Anywhere I'd go, I was trying to sell these shirts. And I ended up making $22,000.
Wow.
And I handed that check to my mom.
How did you get people to buy those?
A part of it was just like basketball culture. Some of it was, at that time, social media was starting to grow a little bit. I started just communicating to people like, hey, we'd love your support. Here's what's going on. Eventually, when I came down to Invictus, we started just kind of like talking about, hey, what does Smith Strong mean? Where does that come from? What is a Smith? What is strong? What are these concepts? How do we define these terms? And so I just remember selling these t-shirts out of the trunk of my car and helping support my mom in that journey. And just the look on her face when she first came to me with that envelope. And that stands out to me as a very strong transition of like when I went from a boy to a man. And the timeline there may have been a little misconstrued because it happened a little bit later. It wasn't when I was in college. It was a little bit later. Because I originally transferred when he was going through the alcoholism. I eventually finished my basketball career at Northridge, went overseas and played professionally for a little bit. When I came back is when he got diagnosed. It wasn't right off the bat when I was in college.
Got it. I see. Okay.
And so that's like to fast forward a little bit. When you think about podcasting, you think about like trying to share the experience with people, but you're like, whoa, like this actually happened over the course of years. It's like fascinating because it seems like a blur at this point. Like looking back in the moment, it was like a big chunk of change or a big timeline between things. But I wanted to make sure I shared that with you and your audience because like I'll never forget that look on my mom's face.
Man,
it was insane.
And that probably gave you a lot of confidence about becoming a real entrepreneur as well.
It did later. To backtrack a little bit, because I fast forwarded probably a little too fast on your question. I then transferred to State Northridge. My father hadn't been diagnosed yet. When I first got there, dude, it was awesome. I was training every day. I went from like 185 to 210 pounds. Like I was putting on a good amount of muscle. I was maturing, which I think I needed. I was healing. Like I felt like I just had a lot of wear and tear and overuse injuries. And dude, in open gym, in practice, like I was just getting buckets. I was like, oh, this Big West conference is way different than the Mountain West. The Mountain West, I was a little guard where I had to be, really crafty. In the Big West, I was like, oh, I'm a big guard. I can post up another 2, or I could take a 3 off the dribble. Like, oh, this is where I'm meant to be. So like in practice and in open gym, I was like, oh, this is my spot. This is the thing. So I went through my redshirt year and was like really confident, feeling really good. That off season, dude, I ended up like working as a janitor at an office building to make some extra cash so that I could pay somebody to train me. And that's why I'm really adamant around like, hey, when you hire somebody, like I knew a lot. I was very smart. I was going through kinesiology. Like I could sit there and say, I know. I wasn't going to do the stuff that this guy was going to have me do. And his name was David Wexler. And I hired him. And like anytime I wasn't working and I can make it to see him, we were doing ball handling. We were doing conditioning. Like I remember training with Baron Davis. Baron Davis was rehabbing his knee at the time. And dude was dicking me around in practice and like in one-on-ones. But I didn't care. And it was like, it's tattooed on my leg now. But we used to run the Santa Monica stairs.
Yeah.
And I'd be puking my brains out.
Oh, man.
And then like
that's hilarious. You trained with Baron Davis.
Yeah, dude. He was so good too. And like he was injured. He was like 50% speed and still kicking my ass.
That's so funny. That my little brother, I nicknamed him Baron Davis.
That's funny. Big fan of him. I grew up a big UCLA guy.
Yeah.
My father went there, my brother went there. And that's where I always wanted to go, man. But they didn't offer a scholarship. They offered a priority walk-on spot. And I decided to go to a different place.
Yeah.
And he was rehabbing his knee. We were doing a lot of sand stuff together. We were doing some training with each other at LMU. And we do lateral drills, jumping drills. Sometimes we would go to the sand dune in Manhattan Beach. And so it was like 2 conditioning sessions and then a 2-hour basketball session. And if we had more time at the end of the day, we got shots up in the end of the day on very tired legs. Mm-hmm. Chris, like I really got to know me at that point. Like I had no money and I just worked. And in my brain, I was like, you know what? Like nobody knows my name. High school basketball is done. Mm-hmm. If I want any shot at this, I have to give my absolute all now. Mm-hmm. And so I did. And I was really prideful of the shape that I was in and my ability to play. And then, got back to Northridge and like, it just didn't pan out, man. Like I just did not vibe. The head coach at the time was Coach Braswell, and he and I just like butted heads, man. In my brain, it was like, you could talk to the head strength and conditioning coach, and he was like, dude, this is the hardest worker I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I was throwing up in the weight room. I was literally showing up early, leaving late. I didn't have anything else, right? Yeah. Like my father was, sick. And, I didn't have any other obligations. It was like, hey, use basketball as a tool to get good grades and pursue my peak expression. And it was such a learning lesson, man, that I had this plan, but God had a different plan. And so, at the time, I went through some resentment, some tough frustration. And then eventually, after we played UCLA, actually, decided to send a message to Coach Braswell. I was like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm done. And so about 60% of the way through the season, I called it quits. And I ended my college basketball career. No regrets. And speaking of transitions, dude, depression to the max, man. Yeah. I had this identity, played for the #1 team in the country for a while. Scholarships to so many different places, chose these different spots, and it just didn't work out, man. Still had good grades, was still attending school, like figuring it out, but like just got to the point where the phone stopped ringing. And like I had nothing. And I just remember going to this gym called Spectrum Club. And I didn't want to touch a basketball for like a month. So all I did was work out, go to school, wear a hoodie. Didn't want to talk to anybody. And one day I popped upstairs at Spectrum Club and I was just like kind of dribbling a basketball. And someone was like, hey, you want to play pickup with us? And I was like, all right. And I started playing pickup again. I started like having fun. And I started like kind of gaining a little bit of a reputation there. And he played at UCLA and he played for the Clippers. His name's Pooh Richardson. And I had some friends that once I started playing pickup a little bit, like, hey, do you want to join our adult league? And I was like, sure. So I joined their adult league. We were playing once or twice a week. And Pooh grabbed some footage of me. He was like, yeah, I got a friend. I'm going to send this to a friend. I guess he was an agent of some sort. And, this was over the course of time. This has not happened fast. Like I was still just like feeling inadequate, feeling like, I didn't make it. All this hard work went to nothing. All this money went to nothing. I disappointed my parents. I disappointed all the people that supported me as a kid. And I'm sitting there working on my laptop, Chris, like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I fall asleep. My laptop's on my lap. My phone's right here. My phone keeps ringing. It's like a plus, like weird number. And this guy calls me, and I finally like answer. It's like 3-something in the morning. He was like, "Hello, is this Bryce?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up, man? It's like 3-something in the morning here." He goes, "Oh, like I heard about you from a friend. My name's Peter Engstrom. I run a club in Sweden, and we liked your film. Like, is this an opportunity you'd be interested in if you wanted to come out here and play professional basketball?" And I was like I thought my whole career was done.
Wow. And
I was just like, maybe if the opportunity was right, like, what are your thoughts? Like, what are you guys looking for? He was like, well, we have a budget to try to bring out an American. Like, we're looking for like kind of a combo guard. We don't have a huge budget, but we can, maybe work with you a little bit and we'll try to make it work. I was like, okay, well, right now I'm a college student, so I'd be giving up my eligibility. Like, if we can refine the details, whatever, like, I think, maybe we can make this work. He was like, cool, man. It's so awesome to hear your voice. I think you're just going to be the perfect fit. And I was like, okay, cool. Thanks, man. And I hang up the phone. And I was living at home at the time. I let go of everything close to State Northridge because I wanted to save money. I remember running out and I woke up my mom and I was like, Mom, I got a call from this like professional club in Sweden. They wanted me to play. She was like, yeah, whatever. We'll talk about it later. I thought it was bullshit. I thought somebody was just like kind of making fun of me because I didn't hear anything for 3 weeks. So I just was like, whatever. I just kept playing basketball, kept trying to get better. I was like kind of motivated, like in the back of my mind.
Just in case.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I also was just like, somebody's just like pranking me. But then the contract came through via email. And I was like, whoa. And I was like, if I don't scratch this itch, I'm going to regret it forever.
Wow.
And I had 21 units left in my undergrad. And I remember I was like, I have to go. And so I left. I went and I played in Sweden for a while. And to this day, man, I think it transformed my entire life. Both good and bad. Painful, but beautiful in so many ways too.
What was first of all, that's an incredible story. I'm glad. That's what I really wanted to hear from you. I didn't know that's how that story went, how you got that job out in Sweden. But what was painful about that?
I left everything. Right? Like I was a college student. I had 21 units left to finish my degree. Right? Into the world at that time, maybe not so much now in the world of AI, but it was like, hey, if you have a bachelor's degree, like you're good. You'll figure it out. You'll get a good job. And I also had a lucrative job at the university where I was a student assistant strength and conditioning coach.
Right.
I also worked another job in a place that was all about adaptive therapeutic exercise. And at that time, I wanted to pursue physical therapy. I thought about firefighting in the background, but I didn't totally pursue it yet. And so anyway, I felt like, I was kind of dating a girl at the time. It was like on and off, and like I felt like I was leaving that too. And like, I didn't speak the language. I didn't have any money. The contract was like decent, but it wasn't like, going to change my life. It wasn't like a Luka Doncic contract. And I didn't sign it because I was like, oh, I want to like make sure there's like the two negotiations that I had were like, hey, I want to make sure that the plane ticket allows me to come back if I don't like it. I also want to make sure like I don't have to sign it with an agent because like I didn't want to give commission to an agent. And so I ended up hopping on a flight. I remember training my ass off that day because I was like, oh, I'm going to like cram it in. I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. I'm going to get some extra basketball, sweating my ass out. The flight was at like 2:30 or something. I remember getting to the airport at like 12:30, which is not appropriate for an overseas flight, dude. And I had like 4 bags because I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to come back.
Yeah, you're moving. Yeah.
Like I literally tried to bring my whole life because I was like, I don't know if I'll ever come back to America. And so I remember I like got on the flight, got over there, and I was wearing just these black sweats and like a black zip up. It was kind of like what we traveled in for basketball stuff in college. And I get to Stockholm, and because I hadn't signed my work visa yet or anything, I got detained in Stockholm.
Oh, wow.
I didn't speak the language. They were yelling at me. They're like, Donka dinga. I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. And so the club needed to drive up from Kalmar, Sweden. Peter Engstrom and the head coach at that time, Marvin Alfonso, came up and they spoke to, the people that were associated with, the travel arrangements. We're like, hey, he's with us. He's on a 3-month like trial period. And if it goes well, like, we'll formalize the documents, whatever. And so that everything was good. They let me go. I hopped in the car. It was like a 5-hour drive, but like, dude, I hadn't eaten in like 24 hours. And I was like, I'm so hungry. Like, can we just like we found a fucking McDonald's. I ate 40-piece chicken nuggets in Sweden. I was like, these taste exactly like America. Man. That was the first thing I ate when I got there. And yeah, man, it just like, in my brain, I was like, okay, what I've done up until this point isn't working. Mm-hmm. I have to surrender to this experience. Yeah. And yeah, it was my first experience befriending uncertainty. And I was scared. Okay. I was terrified.
I like how you tied that back. Yeah, because the what I'm gathering from you about this experience is that basketball was your life in a way for so long, and just like for me, water polo was. And I played in college as well, the NCAA Division I level, as you did with basketball. And it feels like a pretty gnarly breakup when it comes to an end, especially if it doesn't come to an end in the way that you envisioned, sure. Right? And so I'm gathering that was your experience, and that this was your chance to go kind of close the door with nicely and with grace by going and taking this opportunity in Sweden instead of having this way to regret forever, something you put your heart and soul into your whole childhood and through your early adult years. So that's really cool. You shared that story.
I'll also say, like, in playing adult league basketball just for fun with some friends, in that gym culture, I saw a lot of guys with that itch. Yeah. Oh, it didn't make it in high school, so I want to keep playing. And I realized like I had to redefine my definition of success, mm-hmm. which was inner peace. It wasn't about becoming like, when you're a kid, it's like you're making the game-winning shot. You're trying to be Michael Jordan. You're trying to be better than Michael Jordan, which is part of the reason why I always chose the number 24, because I wanted to be one better than Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. Later, Kobe ended up taking that number, but it's like that was my number since I was a kid before Kobe ever had it. No disrespect to Kobe. He's one of my favorites ever. Mm-hmm. But it's just like my definition changed where I was like, whoa, I'm not in pursuit of being the best. I'm in pursuit now of being my best and making peace with my love.
Yeah, man. Well, gosh, this was, we spent a while just talking about how you came to be who you are with those experiences. And I mean, I still have so much I want to talk to you about, but I'm going to try to be efficient here just for the sake of time. But sure. I really want to talk about AllSmith, and, your current business, AllSmith, is like we said, training, you're training people, you have apparel, you have your podcast. But I want to just talk about the founding story, because you were hosting the Invictus podcast. Invictus is a famous CrossFit gym here in San Diego, right? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And could you just tell me how that podcast turned into your brand, AllSmith, or how it influenced that?
Great question. And for people listening, that's an art, what he just did right there. Time is hard. To bring things full circle and to create a bridge into something else is really, it's poetry in motion. So beautiful segue right there. When my father passed, I went to the owner of Invictus and was like, hey man, I don't know what's next after the CrossFit Games. I got to figure out a listening tour. I need to go talk to people way smarter than me. I'm going to do it regardless. If you want to help fund it and be a part of it, like I'll circle it back to the Invictus brand. And we did that, man. We did it really successfully for a really long time. And I learned a ton. And I'm so incredibly appreciative of CJ. He was the owner of Invictus for a very long time. CJ Martin, a huge reason why I moved down to San Diego, a mentor, a friend. We both transitioned, him a little bit before me. And there's a lot of love there. And over the course of time, man, like things just evolve. And as the podcast evolved, like I didn't necessarily want to just stay in the fitness or the CrossFit space. I felt my interests navigating. I felt me wanting to do more. I felt me wanting to monetize things differently and just for the brand and the business to evolve. And any entrepreneur can echo this, but when that itch just starts getting real bad, you got to scratch it, man. And that noise like starts like a little whisper, and that whisper becomes a shout. And so eventually, I started getting louder on the AllSmith side. I purchased the intellectual property of Invictus Mindset Podcast and transitioned it a little bit, which again, similar to, helping sell those shirts and support my mom and my family and my dad's, journey. It was again, proof of concept. Like, hey, I can make some money and I can use that money to show that I'm capable of being an entrepreneur. And I think for me, like my transition was slow. I needed just a little bit more certainty in order to come back and then befriend uncertainty. And I think some people have a higher risk tolerance. It took me a little longer than most. Now I've got too much risk tolerance. My wife could tell you. and it's fun, it's playful, and there's so many learning curves within there. But anyway, 3 days before my mom passed, Chris, my mom was very conservative as far as like, she always did things for the betterment of her family. So she's like, Bryce, just soften your vision for AllSmith. Like soften your aggressiveness, like work the job, get the health insurance, like just keep contributing. You can play with this thing over here.
I've heard that before.
Sure. And like, she's not wrong, but also it's just like, I had this song inside, man. And it's just like, it was getting louder and louder and louder to the point where it's like, 7 hours became 5 hours of sleep, became 3 hours of sleep, where I'm just like trying to play with brand and I'm trying to talk to people and I'm trying to do the thing. And I was like, I just got to go do the thing. And so 3 days before my mom passed, she looks at me and Chris, my mom never cussed. And she said, Bryce, cut the fucking bullshit. Take the leap. And I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? She's like, you have this song inside. If you don't go sing it at 75, you're going to regret it. You're going to sit on the park bench at 75 and some whippersnapper is going to be telling you about, his potential. And you're going to wonder what if.
Wow.
She is like, I know you. You coached people in our garage as a kid. You've had this fascination with trying to take your vision and make it a reality. You got to do the thing. And so there was some tension between me and Invictus at the time. And at the end of the day, it was like, you know what? That environment is not the place that's going to help me thrive anymore. I felt like a fish trying to climb a tree. And I needed a different environment. And CJ was a beloved friend and a mentor, had moved on. And there was a new ownership at that time. And, we just didn't have the depth of relationship. And so when Invictus, decided to kind of cut the cord a little bit and I decided to move on, it became this ironic ideology of like, whoa, this is really what I wanted. But like, I feel lost. I feel in the lonely chapter. I don't really fit in entrepreneurship yet, but I also don't fit with my old friends anymore. I'm in this middle transition of the messy middle. And it felt really lonely and it felt really depressive. And so I realized, like, in order for me to get to that, I actually had to become the man that was capable of that. And I wasn't that man yet. I wanted certainty. I wanted to still identify as an athlete, but I wasn't ready to be an entrepreneur. And so I had to remove everything who I thought I was and create a completely blank slate. And to echo my mom, who never cussed, Bryce, don't be afraid to just start the fuck over. And so in that moment, man, I was like, okay, I didn't really love Smith Strong. My clients had created Built by Bryce, but I was like, it's not about me. It's about you. It's about how we can create an environment and energy to guide you toward your peak expression. And so what we came to realize, like, what is a smith? You're forging yourself underneath an anvil, underneath extreme heat to trim the fat of who you were, to create this aerodynamic, upgraded, awesome version of yourself to pursue your peak expression. I was like, holy shit. What is a smith? We're either in adversity, we just left it, or we're approaching it. We're actually all smiths. We're forging ourselves towards our peak expression. We're not just out in the world taking psychedelics trying to find ourselves. We're doing the hard things to become the best version of ourselves. I was like, we are forged, not found. I was like, there it is. AllSmith, forged, not found.
I love that, dude. I didn't know that until now.
Yeah.
That's how that came to be.
And so that's how that came to be. And so I took 3 months of an absence to really craft the foundation of that, get into the business structure, learn to be a businessman, understand legal, understand that we don't rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our systems. I talked to a ton of people way smarter than me. And eventually I was like, you know what? I want 4 pillars. I want storytelling in the podcast. I want fitness, because I realized that health is the most important thing. It's the nucleus within the spokes in the wheel. And so many people trade their health in pursuit of wealth, hoping later on that they can use their wealth to regain their health, and it's too late. And so when we developed AllSmith, we thought about the 6 F's: faith, family, fitness, finances, fun, and fashion. And like, the reason why we like fashion is because it's like, look good, feel good, play good. Like, apparel's fun. And I want my friends to look good, and I want my family to look good. And so I think it's really cool to, have the storytelling and context, right? Because so much of our world right now is clickbait culture.
Yeah.
But you and I both know it's like, it's easy to see these headlines on social media or Instagram or YouTube. But like, when you actually get to know somebody, especially in the truth box being the sauna, it's a different relationship.
Yeah.
So like, the storytelling component was huge. That's kind of where it started once we transitioned the podcast. And it's like, okay, maybe now we'll do the fitness thing too. Oh, we can also do it remotely. Like, we want to serve people, not just in our demographic, but remotely as well. And they were like, okay, we want to make apparel. And when it comes to the apparel, man, it's not about just like, oh, here's another product. To me, when people put that on, I want them to feel that. I want them to feel that, like, when they're going to do something, like, no. You're not alone. We've got your back. We're going to hold your hand in the cold plunge. We're going to push you when you don't feel like fucking doing it. We're going to be a text message away. We're going to guide you through mindset, through emotion, through more than just, here's the X's and O's of fitness. Like, we're going to co-pilot your journey towards your peak expression. And so when people put on a shirt or a hat, I want them to feel that. And then lastly, it's been social events, man, because when I look at the world, we're doing this all the time. We're supposed to be more connected than ever before, but in reality, we're so disconnected. So I was like, you know what? Let's use the vessel or the space or the nucleus of the sauna and cold plunge to get people to the house. But it's not about the sauna and the cold plunge. It's about something other than bar culture, other than, trying to go for a run club or something different. To have real conversation that's not just for REEL, but it's for REAL, and understand, like, hey, what are you going through? Because I know that, like, I had physical fitness. It didn't create love in my life until I created alignment between head, heart, and soul. Once I found those three in alignment and that vibration came to be true, all of a sudden I met my wife. And I think we're here on this earth to love and to learn. And so AllSmith has become a vessel to teach people to love and to learn, to guide people towards this beautiful version of their life. And that's why we call it about lifestyle design. It's not just about fitness. Fitness just happens to be a place where we do hard stuff and we talk about things and we integrate different life lessons and community. But it's become a really cool part of the story, because if you don't have your health, the faith, family, fitness, finances, and fun, those different spokes in the wheel can't turn.
Yeah. I love that, dude. This is, I mean, the structure of AllSmith. I just understand it so much better after what you just said there. There's a couple things about your business that I want to understand from you, just from my personal interest, and then I'll finish off with a few kind of rapid fire questions related to entrepreneurship and the business.
Sure.
But the two things I do want to get a little more focus on is, one is going to be your time management, because you have all these different things going on. This is an ongoing challenge that for my whole life I've been trying to figure out. And then the next one's going to be your branding and marketing strategy, because that's my background. That's what I study. That's my career. And I'm just very interested in comparing different strategies with that. So maybe we can start with, how do you manage your time? What kind of structure do you implement, do you approach with your daily tasks and all the different areas of your business?
Yeah, I love that question, man. I've screwed it up a lot, which has helped me refine and trim the fat into the now. When my mom passed, I brought on a healer, Justin. He's become such a pivotal part of the behind the scenes of AllSmith. He helped me with business strategy, mindset, navigation of hard conversations. And I'm a huge believer that the most successful people are comfortable having hard conversations, which is not just important in business, but it's important in intimate relationships too. Remind me to come back to that, because there's an important thought that I want to share with you and your audience. And so Mondays and Fridays, typically I don't do podcasts. Typically I won't do anything outside of the meat and potatoes, because it's the bookended part of our business. And I only will make exceptions for special people and special things. So, I mean, that the fact that I'm here on a Friday is very cool. Huge credit to you. And I mean that, because I'm very firm on my boundaries now. And Mondays and Tuesdays are very dedicated to clients. I am not somebody that puts priority into lead generation over the meat and potatoes of the people that are core components of the business. And I'm so thankful and so appreciative for our community, because I've coached people for over a decade at this point. Wow. I'd love to say that I've taught them a ton. I think I've held them accountable. I think we've had some very amazing, intimate conversations. I've sat with people in their car about cancer. I've held people's hands through divorces. And we've used fitness as a tool to help moderate stress, to help moderate emotions, to have this thing that we do while we talk through basic life structure. And so to me, relationships are everything. So Mondays and Tuesdays are non-negotiable, very concentrated contribution to our existing community in the morning. I coach then from 12 to 2:30. From 2:30 until 3:30, I make content. I do discovery calls. I take calls with people. That's when we spoke the other day, roughly around that time. And then it's non-negotiable training time for me. Monday through Friday, I will train from about 3 or 3:30 until 5. And then I'll transition back into Coach Bryce, or I'll then coach from 5 to 8:30 in the evening. At 8:30, I'll get back to text messages, program design for remote clients, and then case dependent on the day. Sometimes I'll turn off and get intimate time with my wife, with my family, with our dogs. I might do a breathwork session. I might connect with Justin, my healer and my coach. And then once a week, we integrate AllSmith Social Club. So that's where we do sauna and ice in the evening. And I'm a huge believer, Chris, and I want everybody to take this with them wherever they go. Unexplained expectations are premeditated resentments. So I do a great job of creating expectations with my wife of like, hey, on this night, I'm not going to get great concentrated time with you because we're going to have the community coming over for sauna and ice. And we're going to integrate Bubs and their collagen, and we're going to do fireside chats, and we're going to be videoing content for Kalo and some of the other brands that we're super fortunate to work with. Or, hey, there's a couple of people in our community that are going through a tough time. I need to spend some time and some energy really being with them outside of the gym space. Because to me, like I said, it's to love and to learn. I want to love on them. I want them to feel it, because people will forget what you said. They'll forget what you did. They'll never forget the way you made them feel. And I know in my lowest moments, when I went through the transition from Invictus, my life felt like it was over after a horrible breakup. The injury transitioning from CrossFit, where my elbow wasn't working anymore, and I was trying to figure out how to be an entrepreneur. The lonely chapter, nobody was checking in on me. Nobody cared because I couldn't do anything for them at that moment. I don't want other people to feel that. So I use that feeling to pay it forward and be present and be available for people in those transitions. I hope you felt that. I hope other people within our community have felt that. And it's something that I don't take lightly, because that moment right there is a pivotal moment that can either help you spiral up or spiral down. And so I think it's very important to share those things in that messy in between.
That's awesome, man. No, you've got some structure. That's good to hear that. Well, let's talk about your marketing. How do you approach philosophically, how do you approach your marketing? And then what channels do you use the most? Which ones do you find the most valuable in getting the message out there of your brand?
Sure. We're learning here, man. When I first started AllSmith, I brought on a marketing director. I was like, hey, I'm too close to the brand. I have all my biases. I need you to give me the painful truths. And I met with the founder of Deuce Gym, and he looked me in the eyes and he said, Bryce, if you truly want to be successful, it's going to be correlative to the amount of negative feedback that you can endure. Like, oh, Logan, come on, man. Like, I'm looking for that sucked. But that's cool. He was so right.
That's valuable.
And Logan played for the Padres for a while. He's become a really good friend. If you guys haven't listen to Logan Galbrick on AllSmith, or check him out, Gelbrich, if you want to Google him. He played for the Padres for a while. He's the owner of Deuce Gym, writes a blog every day, dude. He's very talented, big friend of mine. And I've learned and leaned into him a lot. I went to his business development seminar when my mom was still alive to learn from him. And basically I was like, okay, if we want to market, what's worked up until now, right? Like if I were just to observe up until the start of the business, what's allowed us to develop an agency, an audience or whatever. And I was like, okay, word of mouth, basketball and fitness. And I was like, okay, what else? And I think people really liked that I was willing to say the things that other people were thinking that they were unwilling to say. And I was like, yeah. I think that when you lose your parents, your give a fuck slightly depreciates. You look at the world differently of like, whoa, like I watched at the funeral where, I gave a speech and we talked about, my mom's life and this, that, and the other. And then 5 minutes later, people were talking about, hey, what's going to be the food at the after party? Where are we doing the after party? What's going on? And I just observed right away that like our lives are these small slivers of time. So if nobody's going to give a fuck, I'm just going to do it for me. And so when I first started marketing and it was Invictus Mindset Podcast, I felt like I was trying to do everything for everybody else. And I heard this speech from Rick Rubin. And he was like, bro, if you're trying to make it for everybody else, you're going to fail every time. Make it for you. And so I started thinking similar to what you just did. You're like, hey, I'm interested in this marketing thing. I just started leaning into things that, were things that I was interested in. I started learning and I started thinking like, you know what, if I'm interested and I'm passionate, other people are going to feel that. And they're probably going to be able to relate to me over the course of time. And so from a marketing strategy, like I leaned in towards things I was interested in. Don't care if that's selfish. I also thought to myself, my community is working their ass off. I want to highlight the fuck out of them. I don't care if people get sick of my CapCut posts. My clients are busting their ass in the gym consistently day after day. Their body composition is getting better. And because of that, they're getting more confidence. They're making more money. They're sleeping better. They're eating better. Their health biomarkers are way better. Their blood panel is better. Their sex drive is better. I'm like, holy shit, we're doing the thing. This is lifestyle design. Yep. I want to highlight the people that are contributing to this loving, learning vision, and they're actually doing the thing. And for those that really want to make a change, they're going to see and they're going to notice the intricacies of the people that are consistently posted in my little reels or posted, or they're going to read the caption and they're going to feel something. And that feeling is then going to trigger either, okay, I'm going to unfollow or I'm not interested, or I'm going to mute, or I'm going to disconnect, or I'm going to lean in a little bit. I'm curious here. I want to play because something about this is different. And like, I'm a huge believer from a fitness perspective, man, that like, I'm not biased. I don't think CrossFit's better than High Rocks, which is better than freaking The Yard, which is better than bodybuilding, which is better than yoga. Like, I think they all work. The program that works is the one that you do. So meeting people where they're at, creating consistency, and then maybe taking pieces of all of the different metrics of health, wellness, fitness, mindset, nutrition, microdosing that into a smoothie that's digestible and customizable to the individual. That's my approach. And that may change. If I work with a woman that's coming in and she's like feeling great in her cycle, I'm going to push her a little bit. But we use the Kalo ring to understand where people are at within their cycle, if they're in the luteal phase or if they're right before their period or in their period. And then based on that, it's like, okay, you're giving me all the input so I could create like a Bryce/AI version of an output to meet you where you're at. So now we can get the right program. It's going to fit what you need right now so you can go be awesome in the world. Because I realized that when I was a pro athlete, I didn't have fitness. Fitness had me. I was in these golden handcuffs. And then as a byproduct, I was horrible as a friend. I was horrible as a family member. I'd take my dog for a walk and I was limping. I could barely drink a cup of coffee because my elbow hurt so much. So eventually got to the point where it's like, whoa, I learned a lot there. I want people to use fitness as a tool to create a beautiful life. I don't want them to have so much fitness that all of a sudden they look great in the mirror and their ego's through the roof, but then they have no sex drive. They can't think clear at work. They're horrible at home. They're short because they're just married to macros and, you know, trying to be lean. It's like, no. I think fitness is basically a part of the journey. It's not the whole journey.
Yeah. Well said, man. Yeah, dude, I can relate to that because when I stopped playing water polo a few years into college due to my back injury at that time, and I was able to figure out how to work around that. And then I got big into learning about different ways of training with weights. And I've always loved lifting weights since I was a kid, but I wanted to play with the body a little bit and see what I could do and see.
I love that you said play.
Just see what I could never put on a lot of weight because I had to swim and that wouldn't have been functional. So I just wanted to see what I was capable of if I tried different things. But at that time I got so into it, I was like, oh, maybe I can make a career out of this. And then I specifically can relate to what you said about fitness had me instead of I had it. Because I said, you know what? No, I actively made a choice to say, hey, I don't want this to be a part of my career because this is always going to be my therapy and my whole life, right? And so that was just my personal choice to address that. And I'm glad I did, but now I get to implement my passions into things like this podcast, because it is very sports and fitness related, right? Of course, based off entrepreneurship. But man, I want to end this off with a fun little game here. I've got 5 questions around entrepreneurship, and I want to see if you can try to answer these in like 2 lines or less, 3 lines or less. Okay. Number one, how are you using AI in your daily workflows?
I've done a great job curating AI to know me. It's a training very similar to everything else in my life. And as a byproduct, I use it as a tool to efficiently organize my mind to create digestible deliverables to the community.
Nice. 3 examples.
I love it for captions because I have so many, I probably coach about 30 to 40 people a day. And I take those experiences and I'll just word vomit them into AI. And they're like, oh, here's an organized fashion here. That can be curated for X, for threads, for notes, for captions, for conversations that I have on podcasts or in the future. And so I think sometimes our minds have a clusterfuck. And I think AI does a good job of organizing it for us to make it where it's relatable and digestible to others. And it's more efficient that way.
I like that.
I also use it for tax strategy.
Yep.
Right? It helps me take my credit card statement, say, hey, can you categorize this monthly so I can make it very organized to deliver it to my CPA? So that way I'm not stressed consistently, April 15th, or, if somebody provides, an extension, October 15th. Lastly, man, I think it's really helpful to better understand science and politics.
Cool.
I think science and politics uses language sometimes, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And so being able to take terms and put them in there, hey, can you make this digestible for a 3rd grader and help me understand how I can better explain this, whether it's the realm of peptides or something, related to politics in terms of what I'm voting for or what some of these phrases mean. I'm very appreciative that it makes things easier for me to digest, and then I can pay it forward to others.
Great answer. What is the next big goal in your journey in relation to AllSmith?
I'm ready to be a father, man.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm ready to be a father. I'm so thankful. I'm coming up on my 1-year wedding anniversary, April 21st.
Nice.
Congrats, today's Good Friday.
Yep.
And, I've reconnected with my faith. And, for people listening, I was a spiritual guy for a really long time. And I coined things up to coincidence. Oh, this thing happened, or this person got removed from my life, or I got faced with this adversity. I can't complain of a full plate if there are things that I once prayed for. I prayed to be a business owner. I prayed to have certain challenges with finances, to figure out homeownership and business and friendship and podcasts. So it's I look at right now as just I am ready to be a father. I want to bring amazing little Bryces and Marissas into the world. And those things that I once coined as coincidence were the man upstairs working for me. Life doesn't happen to us. It happens for us.
Yep.
And if we can navigate that victim mentality, especially as men, and take full ownership and responsibility for everything that happens in our life, there's a special learning thing there that doesn't feel good. It's hard. There's a lot of tears. There's probably a lot of drinks. There's probably a lot of different navigations. But if you're willing to play the game and endure, who you become is really special.
Nice, man. Well, I'm excited to be Uncle Chris for the kids, man.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Second to last question is my signature question.
Let's go.
It's, what is an entrepreneurial life hack that goes against the mainstream belief?
Nobody has it figured out.
Nice.
This life that we're living, it's made up, man. And it's easy to say cliche phrases on a podcast. It's easy to say, here's my Google Calendar. Here's, my morning routine, my evening routine. The raw and the real answer is it depends. There are some days that gets executed flawlessly. And there's other days where it's a fucking clusterfuck. And it's if I relate it back to basketball, I think the most successful people are capable of adapting on the fly and realizing oh, this thing happened. Okay, I missed 10 shots in a row. I think I'm going to make the 11th shot. But I think most people are oh my gosh, I missed 10 shots. I'm not good enough. And they ruminate in their inadequacy versus for me, I'm I just delete that from my memory. And I'm okay, every moment is an opportunity to begin again.
That's good.
And so I think as an entrepreneur, not only is it what we discussed a lot today, which is befriending uncertainty, but it's realizing that like you're not you of 5 seconds ago, you're you now. Mm-hmm. And you have the capacity to create magic, which is why I tattooed dream until it becomes your reality.
Oh, cool.
That is a childlike mindset that like you have to be married to your dreams and you have to be okay with being misunderstood. And if you're able just to surrender to that viewpoint, like every moment you're capable of being the next Steve Jobs, the next Alex Hormozi, the next LeBron James, the next Michael Jordan, like there's infinite capacity for people if they just surrender to, hey, I'm not me. I'm inner child me that's capable of fucking anything.
Nice, dude. I like that. Cool, man. Who's somebody from your network who you would recommend I have on Built for Legacy?
Some people might know the name Eric Hinman. He's a guy that I think would be a great guest for your podcast. Okay. Another gentleman that would be another great guest is Ruben Rojas, who started as a graffiti artist, former CrossFitter. And he's actually the one that designed that tattoo.
Oh, cool.
Love. And his company is Live Through Love. And he's got a podcast, and he's another one that would be phenomenal. So
that sounds great.
Yeah, man. Like I think what you're doing is really special. I think transitions are huge, man. Like everybody's going to go through them. It's like adversity. Like my side of the coin is anybody's going to be in adversity just after they're approaching it. Same thing with transitions, bro. And so I think the theme and the arena that you're playing in is relatable. It's special. But more importantly, what makes it tangible is that you literally just went through it so much. You're still playing with it. Mm-hmm. So I can feel it.
Yep.
And I hope your audience can feel it too, because it's not easy, but it's real.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have the courage to be the man in the arena and document it and share it is, I feel that, man. I feel that. It's special. It's cool. And it's something that, like, when you get to the end of your life, you're going to be proud you did it.
Thank you, man. It means a lot, dude. And just to finish, to comment on that, man, it's been, 2025 was arguably the most difficult year of my life. I met you in 2025, and you were around. So you were around while I was trying to figure out what's next. I didn't know what the future looked like, even in the near term, and it got scary sometimes. And so I'm so thankful to be on the better end of that very recently, and just experiencing a transition to get momentum again towards the next level of my life. And man, I mean, even just doing this podcast is a representation of that, and getting back to it. It's been a few months since I've recorded an episode, and it's an honor to do it with my good friend Bryce Smith, man, to wake this back up and keep the journey going, because I want to do this forever.
It's cool, man. I'll leave your audience with this. Maybe the game isn't about winning. Maybe it's about outlasting, right? You've got this massive surfboard behind you. Maybe the game isn't about taking the biggest wave. Maybe it's about overcoming every time you fall off the surfboard. Maybe it's about finding a way to consistently paddle out when you're slipping off the board, when you're frustrated, or when you feel inadequate, or when you get in somebody's way and they're cussing you out and you give them the hand of apology. Maybe that's a great analogy, right? Like, you simply have endured. David Goggins has made a life of enduring. Yeah. Cameron Haynes has made a life of enduring. Mm-hmm. They've done some very incredible feats. They've done some really cool things. But who's to say you're not next?
I appreciate that, man.
Today was fun.
Yeah. Dude, Bryce, thanks so much, man. This is awesome.
I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. Guys, thanks for listening. That was playful. It was cool.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Built for Legacy with Chris Nichols. Please hit the subscribe button on YouTube and follow on Apple and Spotify. And on Instagram, follow @NicholsandDimes and @BuiltForLegacy Podcast. And please like or comment on any of the videos you come across. Would love to hear your feedback so I can continue to innovate and grow the podcast. Thank you for the support, and we'll see you next time.